Hello, champions. Welcome to What's My Role podcast, episode 32. The War Thin's been out for just about a week now, so let's get into our thoughts, and we hope to hear yours. Enjoy. Alrighty, guys. So we've had just about a week now, a little bit longer if you pre-ordered. We don't have to talk about that, but let's get into it though. So starting with like the artistic take and kind of your guys' thoughts on the zones and how this differs from past expansions, you know?
Okay, well, I started in Dragonflight, so my history with the game's kind of very short.
Yeah,
I'm more involved with
too.
this than I was Dragonflight. Actually, moving with the gameplay storyline, so we're still working through the storyline.
Yeah, you're actually getting to play the story this time around.
For the first time.
Different, right?
Yeah.
This is my first time experiencing a launch as well, so I actually expected it to be a lot rockier and bumpier than it has been.
Yeah. I really like the verticality for sure. I know that's a kind of a griping point for some people, but I actually really like it, man. I know we've talked about this a little bit with the core way and
Oh yeah,
traversing, down and back up, and I really think it's awesome. I really enjoy it.
To stay on theme here, and I know we're not talking about spoilers, so I can't give away, I guess, is what I'm trying not to do, but I was really upset where we started the expansion through the main story when you have to go talk to a certain person who I don't think is a good mage at a certain place that we've been to for like the fourth fucking time at an expansion. You release an expansion, you go talk to this dude, and you go to this place, and that's like this is literally the fourth
That's
expansion
how
they've done this.
happen, right?
It's a nightmare. It's like, why stop going back here? But then things happen. I cried tears of joy. It's pretty good. As for the main story, has been good. Oh man, the new places are awesome. They all actually feel really unique. It reminds me a lot of like Shadowlands. I don't know if Golden or Mystery got to it, where like each area, you might not have liked the area, but each area definitely felt like the theme it was purveying.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
100%.
I could see that. Kobolds and kobolds and more kobolds.
I wouldn't say that's the theme of that. I really like all the zones though. I think they're all, like you said, they're all very distinct. They feel different. It's not like, and then since we have the dragon riding or the sky riding, I guess it's called now. It's nice that you can kind of just explore at such a rapid pace. You can fly around and see everything there is to see, and then you're like, oh, that area looks sick. I want to hang out there for a while. I want to see what I can find. So overall, I really, really like all the zones. I'll let Mr. E talk a little bit about it before, because I know we're gonna get into like our favorites and our maybe least favorite out of the new ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, other than going into favorites, like pretty much what you guys have said. Like, I don't know, like the Isle of Dorn. Like, I'm kind of tired of dwarf and earth and like architecture, but I mean, it's kind of cool. And then Spider Zone, I don't remember the name of it. And then Hallowfall, I really like. I could do without the kobolds, as you guys know.
Yeah, I've heard you talking about kobolds for like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty waxy about it.
Oh no. Yeah, I think for most of us, and if you've got something different, say so. But I think most of us agree that that Hallowfall is just incredible from an artistic perspective, and just everything from the very first time you get to see the zone. It's pretty amazing. His camera went off.
Again?
Yeah.
No, if you guys ever read, there's a kid's book called The City of Ember. And Hallowfall kind of really reminds me of that. It's I don't want to give any spoilers away for the book or the zone, but yeah, I really like the book, so I really like the zone.
Yeah, Hallowfall is sick, and like when you first experience it, it's like this amazing moment where none of the other zones I feel like had that kind of introduction where you stop and then the crystal and it's just kind of glorious with the airships
Yes.
flying around and stuff.
Yeah.
And then even as you get into the zone, you're like, there's these badass paladins and they're talking about the light and shit. And then there's like Lovecraftian like fish people that they're fighting as well as the Nerubians. But and then you get that like dark crystal time where it's like everything gets all twisted and evil. So I think there's a lot to love with that zone. It's just it's easily
Xerxes and the puppets come out.
yeah. Well, none of the areas have like the crystal thing where it's like this kind of defining piece that the rest of the zone kind of circles around.
Well, and that's the two other underground areas are definitely like cavern feeling. But what's the I want to call it Ankajit, but that's not right. It's
Ashkahet.
the Ajkahet. But I like that one only because there's that little city within the zone. And then once you do enough quests without going into too much detail, because I want people to experience it, you kind of choose your way to go around who you want to work with there. And depending on who you work with, you get certain quests and rumors and cool stuff in the towns and stuff. And it's
Right.
it makes it interesting. In fact, I picked up a trinket recently that had me go into that town to buy pheromones. And you apply the pheromones into the sockets of the trinkets to give you different stats accordingly. Just kind of a way to customize your trinket more or less.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Ashkahet definitely my second favorite. I like the architecture. They definitely incorporated the arachnid feel into the architecture if you take a look at it. Some of the structures that are suspended or basically look like they're suspended by like spider legs, things like that, and webs. And yeah, I'm actually a huge fan of it.
Yeah, that's my favorite part is like the kind of like suspended city. And then there's like different little parts that are all just kind of hanging down. And then even like going through like the markets and stuff, it is cool to see kind of the Nerubian like culture where you kind of would expect them to be, monsterish, monstrous, I guess would be the term. But they're just like normal. Yeah, we're spiders, but we're just normal. Come buy some fucking flies or something. Fried flies or something.
There you go.
I think what I'm enjoying a little bit with the verticality that they did was you're still in a cave. So like being able to have flying and high speed flying in a cave is pretty impressive because there's such a grand scale. What I think I'd like to see more is more stacked stuff. What's the dungeon in Dragonflight that was on the main, like right next to the main dragon city, but you flew out to the northeast and you had to like go
Ruby
down
Season.
4 levels or whatever, like you had to go like into the little like pit around it.
Oh, Halls of Infusion.
Yes, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I like stuff like that where there's like things hidden on different levels and like maybe an NPC on one to talk to and then mobs to kill and then maybe a dungeon. And I'd like to see not necessarily a pit like that, but like more vertical stuff. And that's why I kind of like the spider stuff is you kind of get a little more of these like towers and verticality to the actual levels and not necessarily just the verticality to the zones, which themselves is also pretty cool.
Yeah, where they have like the suspended city, but then under it, there's actually, stuff on the ground too.
Yep.
No, that's a really good point. And like you said, the core way too, that is like such an amazing transition, like going through that super long staircase. And then even flying back up, it feels really cool too.
Yeah. Especially with the stream system that they have that kind of assists you and keep moving.
Yeah, I know the first time I was avoiding that because I was like, I don't want to fly back up there. And then I did it and I was like, oh, thank God it carries you. Like,
But I'm not going to lie, I still set Dornagal or whatever the main town is as my hearth and just hearth there and then fly back down to wherever I want to go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's like that portal that takes you straight to Ashkahet too.
Yep, I have my Hearthstone set to Ashkahet, and I just use the portal between Dornagal and there.
Well, I do, yeah, because I do Dornagal, and then I can easily get down if I need to, and then if I need to go to Ashkahet, you just hit that portal.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's fun.
No, that's good. Well, what do you guys think? Thoughts on story? They very clearly. I'm not a big story guy, but I know some of you guys are. Not the specifics. We'll save that for people to experience, but like they're clearly taking it in a different direction, it feels like. So for those of you that are more familiar with the story and past expansions, like what are your thoughts on the direction and how they're doing things this time around?
Yeah. This is kind of my first time actually like paying attention to the story, I'll say. Because every time I've played before, we've kind of been in a rush, like, let's get to the dungeons, let's get to the mythics
Yes.
and stuff. So I'm just clicking things and, go pick up 10 of these, go kill 12 of these, pull this vine out of the fucking floor.
Yeah.
So I actually have been paying attention to the story, and I do like the direction it's going. I think it's darker, it's more serious. It feels like it matters a lot more than Dragonflight's
Mhm.
story, I'll say, where it's like, yeah, you're helping the dragons, and I guess that's important, but there's kind of just like a little bit too much whimsy, I would say, in
Right.
Dragonland, where everything's like, let's frolic through the fields. So it definitely feels cooler going through it, and we haven't really talked about this, but a lot of us had the early access, right?
Mhm.
So I know overall it is a negative and bad thing, bad early access. We don't like early
That's right.
access, but we all got it, and it felt really nice having early access because things weren't
Yeah.
crazy crowded. There wasn't like a ton of stress on the servers. I didn't feel any kind of rush to just like all the story stuff and even the side quests. I read them all. I took my time.
Yeah.
I did what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like rushed to get my like
Yeah.
gear and stuff because we've got time anyways. Even after launch, there's still like multiple weeks before the season 1 starts.
Yeah. It also
But
lets us provide a better product too. Since we're
yeah,
doing the channel and everything else, we want to be able to give people more info. And it kind of sucks if you come on here and you sit here and you're like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I haven't done
So
any of this shit.
Well,
I
and,
thought
and
that's what we
the
were
tough
doing.
part the tough part I have with the early access is it's not even early access, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I got
No.
gripes about early access. WoW
Get it
used to
all
come
out.
out on Thursdays.
Mm.
WoW releases came on Thursday afternoons, evenings, or whatever it was, right? Depending on your time zones. I remember Wrath came out. I remember actually getting fired on a Wednesday and going, "Yay! I don't have to work for the next couple weeks, and this game's going to come out." I worked at Best Buy.
Nice.
I didn't care, but it was like, but yeah, I remember it coming out on Thursday and then playing all weekend. Like that was the thing. Now they've pushed the release off to a Tuesday because that's normal game release time, and that's been a common thing for console games and all sorts of stuff for a long time. Is Tuesday releases, but WoW's always come out on like a Thursday or Friday. So, and then for my own personal point, I get weekends a lot easier, especially that weekend. And so for the, what was it, $40 extra over the normal cost of the game, which by the way came with the 30 days of game time. So that's $15 right there of value.
Yeah.
So for $25, you get the little pets and whatever and the playtime. And that was what, 4 days of early access. So that comes out to $6 a day. Which as an adult with a job that pays, God, even minimum wage, you're already making it in very short time to be able to pay for it. If it's of course a priority, obviously you got bills and shit.
Right.
But it was easier to justify with that, but it's still, I don't like the tactic. I get the tactic can help with load times and server issues and testing. If, for instance, the change they made on Wednesday, I think it was.
Oh, the leveling change.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys talked about that on the last podcast or not.
We
No,
haven't
there'd be
had
a hell of a lot
podcasts.
less gripes, I'm sure, had they not pushed that, honestly. It was already bad enough that, people weren't happy about the early access and the additional cost, but then you throw that patch in there that slows everybody down too who just started. That's pretty lame.
Yeah, and of course it's always after a bunch of people have just like leveled 1 million characters. Then they're like, oh, okay, you're not supposed to do that.
Well,
but it doesn't hurt the people that had early access at all.
Yeah.
Stat-wise, too, they're going to look at it and go, holy crap, we have a bunch of people leveling so quickly. We need to do something about it, and then respond. So without that early access, they wouldn't have recognized it. So I get that, but it does
It's a double-edged sword, man.
Yeah,
but then the people that didn't get early access, they're like, well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, why did I get screwed?
Yeah, absolutely. So the zones and the stories and all that, but let's get into the newest feature, I guess you could say, that goes into endgame. So we've got delves, right? And I'll start on this one just to kind of talk on my piece and you guys roll in. But I kind of had a misconception about delves, and I know we tried to stay away from like content from the beta and things like that because we wanted to go into it like, you know, without having already seen all of this content. And in my head, I had like, okay, delves are going to be like these mini dungeons, and they're going to be good practice for new players, and it's going to be kind of like this little cool side thing you can do on the side. And it turns out that, to me at least, it's a lot more than that. It's not just challenging, or can not just be challenging for new players who are learning a new class. It's designed completely as its own system, right? Like you have the tiers, right, that push it in difficulty, but also the structures are different. I did not know we would have basically different mechanics, different challenges. So the first time I jumped in, not the very first one that the story takes you through, but the first one I did that was a tier 2 after that I just decided to jump in for shits and gigs. You know, I had to carry a candle, and the more I moved, the more the light went out, right? And then there's a negative buff or a debuff if you let that light go out while you're still fighting enemies. So you kind of had to control your movement a bit more. So that's a completely different challenge that doesn't exist in anything else that you can do in the PvE content in WoW. So I was really happy to see that this isn't just for new people. It's also a challenge for basically anybody who wants to do a different type of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I really thought that was awesome.
It felt like they took, for those who played Shadowlands, was it the Maw or what was the Torghast? It felt like they took Torghast and have defined it a little better. They gave Torghast a legitimate story, whereas before you were just running through random areas, and there's a little bit of those Torghast random skills you can get by looting for random things in there, which is kind of cool, and they almost all seem positive, which is good. At least so far what I've seen. I haven't done too many of them. I am looking forward to multiplayer content with those. I have yet to do one multiplayer. I don't know if you guys have or not.
Yeah, I have not either yet.
I don't care for the brand NPC. I don't think he's that useful. I don't doubt he's putting out some damage or he's healing or whatever the hell you said.
Brand's
to,
useless, dude.
It just feels like I'm just carrying everything so far. I've only done a couple. I have not delved too deep in them, but
I think Brand hit his head since we
part of
last
the season thing with delves is the NPC you have, it will be different.
Oh, like every season.
Oh yeah, they did say you're gonna have new seasonal companions to level up. What I'm wondering is if you'll have the option of like, will you eventually have like a roster of companions that you can switch between and choose who you want to use, or if it's going to be each season you have a specific companion?
Well, when you click on the little,
I hope it gets to the point. I mean, it'll probably do kind of like how like Mythics and Awaken raids do, like the last handful of weeks at the end of the expansion they'll let you choose probably.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, to go along with that, I kind of had an idea, like with the war bands, like add one more character onto the war bands, and then follower dungeons be the characters you have in that select group at the top.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I've seen that's kind of a popular sentiment.
I want to see Bean do his 5 paladins.
5 paladins. I only have 2. I have 3 actually.
Holy roller.
6 demon hunters. Let's go.
Yeah. I actually do have 6 demon hunters.
All havoc. Just see what you can do.
Yeah.
Can't wait till they add kobolds as a race, so that's going to be what I main just to piss you off.
I'm subscribed.
I did notice though that at least for the one that the story takes you through, it kind of like is a little bit of an introduction to doing dungeons, right? Because you're going through, right, and there's spider webs on the ground, and I think Bran, every time you get ready to step in it, or every time you step in it, he's like, stay off the web. So it's teaching you to watch the floor, right?
It's like a lore friendly version of GTFO.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? Like, it's progression, especially for a new player, of what they should focus on, kind of like when you're doing dungeons on normal, and the stuff that doesn't kill you now will kill you later type of deal. So I think that's great.
Stuff and floors. I'm tired of like Death Knights and stuff. I know I'm going on a tangent. Death Knights have like a Death and Decay or something, and it's just red for everybody else, even though it's your friendly target. Or there's one dungeon where you have like the electrical circles that throw on the ground and that are helpful to you, but as soon as they go on the ground, it's a blue circle, and everybody tries to get out of them. It's like, don't take them ads
like we
out.
need some consistency here.
I want a green. All I want is a very simple green-red system, where if it's a friendly, like if it's your own, you can be whatever the fuck color you want. But
Yeah, or like Priory of the Sacred Flame with all the fucking consecration from the
don't
enemies,
wanna talk about that
consecration from
place.
me, consecration from.
That place can go fuck itself. I don't
Everybody
even
else.
care what they do to it.
It's like the
Consecration
floor
on
is
you,
bad.
consecration on your
Yeah.
cow.
The floor is lava, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
everywhere.
You move forward,
Any-
consecration. You move backwards, consecration. You move sideways, believe it or not, consecration.
Consecration.
Anybody have any issues or concerns about delves?
With prior, oh, okay, the Dells though.
Not with delves. I do
I cannot
like
wait to get to
that. There's
Priory.
kind of like different gimmicks and themes, whereas Torghast is like you're in another shitty
Mhm.
hallway.
Yes.
and
That takes
then,
forever
delves,
to go through.
Right.
How many
and delves,
have you
they
guys
have a lot
done?
more stuff going on with it.
Have you done more than one or two of them? I've done so far. They feel like I'm in like a minecart kind of a thing, or like a small cave.
I want to say
Yeah.
I've done 5 or 6 of them.
They all feel theme wise. They kind of still feel like you're
There
in a
was
cave.
one.
Or...
There was an underwater one that I did that was very
yeah.
different from all the others.
Underwater, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be some
oh
curveballs
yeah,
thrown in there.
with the air bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like
Yeah.
Bran mysteriously has this power to make a bubble, and then he lights a fire inside of it. So there wouldn't
Makes
be any
sense.
oxygen in
Oh,
there
yeah.
because the
Yeah.
fire would
Yeah.
be sucking it all up.
Well, hold
Well,
on. Is
depending
that,
on where
is
the
that
bubble
your-
came from, there might not be any
Yeah.
oxygen in there.
Don't
anyway.
question it.
the methane
That's why
bubble?
the fire
I
happens.
only
Is that
want
your suspension
realism
of
in my
disbelief in this
World of
game about
Warcraft
dragons and dwarves?
No, dragons are obviously real, but
This dwarf underwater is somehow able to make a bubble with fire, and the bubble and fire part is the part you're upset about.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's true. Okay,
Fucking ridiculous.
Oh god.
Next
So
thing you want to tell them the
dungeons.
whole WoW world's flat.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I'll wait.
So moving on to dungeons then. So I didn't get to experience all of them from this expansion yet, but I did a few. I think they're good. I haven't had any really issues. I really like the City of Threads as far as I'm assuming that's part of like the mega dungeon, right? I mean that place is massive.
Well, there's only 4 bosses. I don't think it is. I think we're gonna get a whole other mega dungeon.
But
I
if you
don't
look
know.
at the map, there's an entire area that's grayed out attached
I think it's
to the
because,
areas you go to.
Oh, well, maybe there will be more. I don't know.
Well, they've taken what they've done is they've
taken the map.
They've done this in the past. They did this back in vanilla, believe it or not, where they actually fully built the dungeons out in the world. It's just in
Mhm.
vanilla, it would just be empty space. But now
Oh.
the area you run through is the dungeon. Like you
Yeah.
can actually go up the Priory of the Sacred
Yeah.
Flame. It's that big
the
church.
Rookery too.
Yeah.
You
The
guys
just
Rookery
go
is the
there
same
to
way.
it, yeah.
Yeah, like you
Okay,
can
so it's not a
actually go
mega
in them.
dungeon.
It's just
yeah.
Ashkahet. It's
just
the
a
city.
lot of space.
Right. They just copied
Gotcha.
the real world over into an
Yeah.
instance.
The only one I actually I don't dislike the dungeon. I just dislike this part. The Rookery, the very first boss right after you kill them, the drop.
You
It's
have to take
just
damage.
so it's unavoidable damage and it's not from like fighting anything. It's just fall damage. And it really slows down the momentum, right? So you could be burning like from the get-go, killing mobs, jump on the griffins or birds, fly over, and then now you have to stop. Everybody's got to drop, and then we have to float down with feathers, and it just kind of kills the momentum of that dungeon for me.
Well, I think my issue is the damage you take getting to the first feather. Like, give you that feather and take that platform off and put those up at the top, because you could use that feather's
Yeah.
ability to like charge down very fast.
Yeah,
and
you
it's a
can go
little
fast using it.
tedious.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
think
still
we're gonna have some deaths on mythics. Like,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna kill
Oh,
that
for
first
sure.
boss and be in a rush and go
People
to
are low
jump
health.
over and be like
What?
full health.
We're not. You're gonna think you clicked a feather and you didn't. You're gonna just jump to your death.
Yeah.
It won't be my fault.
Yeah,
Well,
Not
you guys,
unintentional.
I have wings.
it will be. It's always the tank's fault.
You do have to do another drop too after the second boss down into the water. That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
one's
It doesn't
got-
slow it down as much though.
Yeah.
there's a
It's
glitch
still a
with that,
time
though.
waster, so I get what you mean.
There's a
it
glitch
is
with
still a
that.
time waster.
If you're like Monk, for instance, if you do a roll off the platform into that fall, because the fall kind of funnels you into a certain area.
Mhm.
If you do some type of movement ability with the monk roll is where I found it. If you roll off the platform onto that fall, by the time you hit the water, you die. Like it
Oh.
treats it like a legit fall for some reason.
Well,
Oh,
even in
no
normal
clue.
fall, you
That's
wouldn't die
nice.
falling in the water, would
Not
you?
at all.
Yeah.
That's fucked
No,
up.
so and I've seen multiple people have it happen where they landed on
Yeah.
someone or
It must
or
be the
something like
blocks
that.
or whatever
that, like,
they've
metal
determined.
grate.
Yeah.
Whatever they're because if you jump in, you'll notice it kind of like moves
Yeah, you
you to a
kinda,
certain
like,
position.
Get pushed
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, because it doesn't want you landing on
Yeah.
the ramp by accident or something, which I get. But
Yeah.
if it's just gonna kill you,
All right, Goat, get on the phone with Blizzard. Let them know.
Yeah. Call your
Yeah.
boss.
Tell them what's up.
Yeah, Blizzard, do it.
Click the button.
Yeah, fucking fired.
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
You'll
But the
fire.
dungeons, we're talking about the dungeons, right? So
Yeah, buddy.
I played
Priory.
every dungeon except for Dawnbreaker. That's the only new one I
Yeah.
haven't played yet.
I played way too many of the first 4 as you level, and I'm done with them. Like some of them are okay. The spider ones, all right. The Priory, I'm not looking forward to that Mythic, man. Once you start getting up there with not Tyrannical Week, but the other one, that's gonna be a nightmare, dude. That
Is
damage
that
from those.
the?
That's the one
Is
with
that the vertical?
chapel.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
and you go up.
Yeah, you keep fighting your
Yes.
way. Like you're in the courtyard, and then you go inside the front entrance. And then
Yes.
Yeah,
that
we
whole
did
front
that
entrance
heroic,
area.
and it was pretty fucking messy,
Yeah.
dude.
You have to kite like crazy, but just the one tick of those what's it called are nasty, dude. It's gonna be
And
crazy.
Yeah.
you get bounced around by one of the abilities. Like I got fucking
Mhm.
flung, and then you end up
Yeah.
pulling more mobs, and it just gets pretty hectic. Not
Yeah,
to mention the
positioning.
whole consecration issue. And then that final
There's
room
so much
too.
of
It's
it.
hard to decide how to pull the mobs in there. It'll be nice when we know like how much trash we need and everything.
Well,
Because
that
maybe
final,
we just want to like stick to one side, or
that final
don't know.
boss,
Right.
even she has that like shield. She goes up top on the second stage and then has a shield, and you have to burn through that bubble to interrupt her. And
Yeah.
so that's gonna be a everybody move skill and then pop
a DPS check.
bloodlust or something at that point, because that's probably where you're gonna wait
Yeah.
it, because it does a lot of group damage during that point.
Yeah.
I really like Stone Vault with the mine cards.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, I
the
did
mine
too.
cards to bypass stuff. I think it's a cool
Yeah.
mechanic.
Yeah, it's nice to not have to completely walk backwards. Just get a little shortcut back to
Yeah.
the middle.
Did you do that little extra part where you jump in the cart with the candle and you got to go through the dark?
Hmm?
That's not stone.
You're thinking of Dark
Dark
Cleft
Flame Cleft?
Flame? Yeah, that's it.
Oh, is that the one I'm thinking of where you
Where you
go
throw
through
the TNT at the darkness?
At the
Yeah.
final boss, you have to
Yes.
keep like chucking
Yes.
shit. Yeah, I like that.
That
one.
one's gonna be tough when it does come to Mythics.
It is. There's some. So like if it goes out, you got to go through the dark to get to the candles that are spaced out. But you have to watch out as well because there are pits and you will fall and die.
Yep.
So
What you haven't found
Yeah.
out yet, because it's just easy enough in heroics, it's not a problem, is the darkness, of course, and I'm sure you know this already, but 99% reduced damage and 99% reduced healing.
I did discover that the first time I
So,
played it.
If you're in the dark, even if the candle's
Yeah.
working, but you're the one going out to get light for others, you need to
Mm-hmm.
have like a DPS that's fast, or a healer that is okay to have some downtime to go get it. Monk healers are probably going to do very well with that because of their mobility. But even then, it's going to be interesting.
yeah, it's gonna
Scary.
be a tough one, man.
Or a
Especially
tank.
against the clock.
Yeah, because it's refreshing the light and staying in it. Because if you're outside the light, you're not going to get healed and you're not going to do any damage. And no
Yeah.
damage means you're screwed. So
100%.
yeah, it's a fun one.
So we have to sing "This Little Light of Mine" when we do the run.
There you go. Yeah. Overall, everything I've experienced with the dungeons, I am happy with them.
They feel well tuned. They feel difficult.
Yes.
Where they need to be.
They all look
And
cool
Yes.
too. Like
I'm intrigued to see what they add
100%.
for the mythic ability that changes the bosses. They're all going to
Yeah.
have something cool on them. So
Yeah. So now that we've covered dungeons, one thing we didn't talk about, I know Bean and also for Goat, this was your first time experiencing a launch, but how did you feel about leveling? Like as far as how long it took, the content you did, just all of that.
I felt like it went by at a good pace. I didn't feel like it was too fast. I didn't feel like it was dragging. I got through it pretty quick, and then the second character kind of did the whole dungeon spam deal. And then the third character, I just did only side quests, and I kind of done all the side quests in Isle of Dorn and Ringing Deeps, so I just gotta finish up the other two now. But it felt good. I enjoyed it. I had fun. Still got a couple more characters to level, but it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
has
concur with
slowed
Bean. It's
down.
smooth. You can kind of see, if I stay on and do this many, you kind of see exactly where you're going to be experience-wise as you push through. I still haven't maxed out yet. Haven't really been able to sit down and hammer down on it, but it's an enjoyable experience. I put it that much.
Yeah, and you didn't have the early access either, I know.
Yeah, can't hide money.
Are you
Since-
are you doing mostly main story like the big campaign quest line?
Yep.
Cool. I did notice that it stopped out at like 76, 77 off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
it won't
I
get you to
only-
max.
I purely did just that. Like I hardly did any, like maybe a side quest if it was there, but more or less I did campaign only. So now the cool thing is once you're at 77, queue up in dungeons to figure them out because you're going to want to do more dungeons anyway. So queue up in a bunch of dungeons, you'll level through pretty quick. And of course, we'll all be here to help out with that. So
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I thought it was really good. I didn't feel like it was too quick or too short. I thought it was like just the right amount of time. And I had jumped on and done dungeons with you guys intermittently, so I was already, I think I was max level, or I was close to max level when I completed the campaign. And then they have, you can pick up more quests obviously as well after you hit 80. And I do like that. I haven't finished those up yet. And I've done a lot of the side quests too. I've really enjoyed the side quests, and I know a few other groups on like YouTube and things like that have really just raved about the side quests.
There's some
and I
really
think they've been really
There's
good.
some really good ones for sure. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into spoilers yet, but there's
Yeah.
some pretty like heavy stuff in some of them.
Yes.
I feel like where the side quests is where they actually like they put the fun, cool events, whether they're something serious or not. The main stories have some cool things here and there, but more or less they're just there to push the story along, which can be good or bad depending on if you're into that or not.
I did a world quest today that made me sad.
Oh, wait, can you tell us? It's just a world quest. I think you can tell us that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. So
You had to hug a
something-
kobold.
Something major that happens at the very beginning, right? Where people used to hang out that they can't hang out anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have to go and collect the possessions of some of the
Mhm.
people that didn't make it,
Oh, what the fuck? I haven't seen this one.
and they're all fucking like stuffed animals.
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
no,
It's all-
the
it's all
kids,
kids'
man.
shoes and stuffed animals.
Good.
If you guys haven't done it, there is, the little orphanage place in Hollowfall. There's a side
Mhm.
quest in there. Do that side quest. It's a
All
good
right, I'll
side
check it
quest.
out. Check it out
Oh,
for sure.
Fuck that fence,
No.
though.
Yeah.
Is it one where you just make more orphans? Like they're
No,
we need more.
Oh
it's,
my
it's
God.
funny. You'll enjoy
Go
it. It's
kill
a
these
funny
family
one.
members.
That's the main campaign. You know that.
No, it is kind of sad, but it ends up being kind of funny how it turns out.
Nice.
So my thoughts on the story, just because we ran by it real quick, was I like the fact that they're bringing in other characters because it's no longer like Thrall and Jaina and like all that primary crap, right? Like it's always been one of these big main people. And in Dragonflight, you were
Yes.
mentioning about whimsy, but I think the problem you're missing, and I'm not knock you for it, but those dragons, all the ones that you came across, Alexstrasza and Rathian, and all those dragons were like massive and epic back in the day. They hardly even had their human forms you ever saw. In fact, you just saw the dragons, and they were epic, and they were intense, and they were frightening when they came involved with stuff because they were so powerful.
Alexstrasza has been a big deal since vanilla.
And I will admit, Dragonflight kind of tamed them a bit, where they almost overdid it because it's just, we're all dragons, we're all having a good time, playful dragons, haha.
Yeah, that's how it came across.
Dragon
Really.
Tales.
So there was a lot more at stake, which is kind of cool. Seems fun because it seems like they're doing new story that brings in characters that have already existed by all means, but have never really had spotlight. I'm unimpressed by them so far, but I have to give them time to
Right.
come to fruition. I'm scared because this feels like another expansion where, like every other expansion, they go, and then the old gods arrived, and it's just like, God damn it, I don't want to hear another fight with what's his name? What's the like eye at the bottom of the dungeon and every other fucking dungeon? Like not old
Cthulhu.
man, but yeah, Cthulhu or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's always one of these old gods. He's been here for 40,000 years.
Well,
And
we're
you're
supposed
like-
to be getting like an actual Void Lord now, right? I think.
Maybe, yeah.
So I mean,
We'll
it's
see.
gonna kind of have that Void
We'll see.
flavor, but I guess
Yeah.
it should, in theory, be a little bit more threatening.
I don't know. Everybody's got to live up to Sargeras for me. Like the jailer, who I guess was the Death Pantheon's equivalent, like fell short to me.
Well, there was
Yeah,
no build up for this dude. He just appeared out of nowhere.
He just showed up and started slapping people around,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it actually sucked because I liked what they could do with Sylvanas back in like Shadowlands, where they made her bad by doing crazy dark evil shit, and then it's like, wow, if she can be turned, then this guy must be crazy. And it's just like this dude is like, what's up? Like that's all it was. Like it wasn't even like anything else he did. So
And then after
Mm.
he dies, he's like, "I'm not even the real threat."
it was Sargeras all along.
Yeah. Well, there are some things that I do want to bring up.
into manipulating him.
The manipulator.
There are some things I just want to cover really quickly just to put it out there for anyone listening or watching, and also for you guys if you haven't seen this. But so season 1's going to start on September 10th, right? And we're
Yay.
going to get our dungeon rotation for season 1. That does affect heroics as well. So you're not going to be able to just go into LFG and we're not going to be able to go into LFG and just do a heroic of any of the new dungeons. You're only going to have the options in heroic as well for the season. So it's just something to keep in mind, especially if you haven't gotten into those all the dungeons or tried those out on heroic. Raid will be on normal and heroic difficulty. It'll be available.
And the
And of
first
course we'll
wing
have-
of LFR, right?
Yes, and the first wing of LFR, and obviously Mythic 0, right? So we're gonna have the dungeons for season 1 available to do on Mythic 0, which is awesome.
Daily lockouts.
That's right. And seasonal dells and tiers 4 through 11 will be unlocked as well. So if you've pushed the 4 and you feel like you still need to do some more challenges and also get better gear, that'll be available. I did want to cover bugs really fast.
Oh yeah.
I know we may not have experienced a lot of them, but I will tell you the one that I did experience and I heard of a few people experiencing was the
Elgato.
lore hunter bug. So basically there's like statues or things like that out in the world where if you click on it, when you find them, it'll pop up with some lore, right? But it's supposed to reward you, I think, with either
Achievement
gold or
progress
rep.
or something.
Yeah, or achievement, something like that. And it gave me nothing. Absolutely nothing. I found like 8 of them. And
you're
I would
supposed to
just
get
click the
something for
text.
clicking those?
Yes.
I thought it was just for, people that wanted to see a little bit extra lore, which I was fine with.
No,
I didn't
there's
know I
like-
was even missing out on
If you
anything.
go to Isle of Dorn, that little like water
Mhm.
area to the west, there's like something at the bottom of the ocean. I saw
Yeah.
it when I was flying. It's like, what the hell? I
Yeah.
dive in, I go
Well-
and I click on it, and there's something to it, but it didn't give me anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, there's statues that are like on top of the mountains and they're all facing towards the center of the Isle of Dorn. Now I did see a content creator say he doesn't know. Maybe it's not a bug. Maybe this was something that they were planning on implementing, but they didn't fully implement. But a lot of people are under the impression you're supposed to get something for it as part of Lore Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I haven't had this issue before, and I know you guys have talked about it a couple times though. I have had issues where I go to turn in a quest, or I turn in a quest and they have a new one for me, and I cannot click it. I have to literally walk away
Come back.
or get off my mount,
Yep.
and still have to walk away
Target
and then
something
come
else.
back. Right, and then
Yeah.
come back and
Mhm.
to get it to pop up. If you guys
Yep.
had that,
I've
Yep.
experienced that even back in Dragonflight, so I don't know
Yeah.
what it is
No, it
that
was-
causes that, but it's a recurring
It
issue.
was extra bad
Yeah.
here. So, also, I don't know if you guys went to that. Have you been to that fourth zone, the very, very bottom? What's the name of that again?
Ashkahet.
Ashkahet.
There's a lot of bugs there.
Really?
Oh my
Um,
god!
You mean
so-
like
Wait, are you being like
is this
spiders?
a joke? Is this a bit? Or are you talking
I
about actual issues?
Kill me now.
Wow. So many bugs. They got 6 legs.
I've had 2 bugs. One was game breaking. There was a
Oh.
delve that you could not complete.
Oh, damn.
Good.
So, like,
You didn't deserve it.
Yeah, fuck
it was
you.
like one of those like you do the world quest and then you get that bonus quest or whatever, and it was to go do the delve,
Mhm.
but you couldn't advance because you had to get an NPC to do something, and he would just freeze.
Oh no, that sucks.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they
then
really
the
should
other
not
one-
base a quest around NPCs doing things at all.
Yeah. The other one
Nope.
wasn't that big a deal, but there's a part of the story in Ashkahet. There's a bit of a little reveal thing, and then Void Night Elf chick shows up, and there's like a little like mini cutscene. My camera froze, so
Oh,
like
no.
I literally was like looking at the floor the whole time.
Damn.
Like the audio kept going
Jesus.
on and everything.
Yeah, like the audio kept going, like my character was
That's awesome.
moving and like
That's cool.
emoting and crap, but I was just staring at the floor.
Wow, riveting. I had like really bad lag a few times in Ringing Deeps. It was like I would click something and it would take like 2 whole seconds before it would register. That only happened like
Jesus.
twice though. And
Was
then
it like kobolds?
I wasn't even fucking around with the kobolds when it happened. It was just doing random ass story quests. The other thing was, I don't know how many of y'all experienced this, but some of the like later kind of cutscenes didn't have any dialogue audio. It was just playing like the music and
Yes,
the
I had
sound
that happen
effects,
too.
but Thrall was supposed to be talking and he's like moving his mouth, but there's no audio. And I actually had the cinematic subtitles turned off, so I don't know what the fuck happened in those cutscenes at all.
It wasn't
Jesus.
important. You didn't need to know.
And I know a lot of people kind of last week were having trouble with the auction house. I know they had like shut it off for a bit, and patron orders were not functioning for me for the first few days when they were supposed to be. Besides all that stuff though, pretty smooth. Well, I guess there has been kind of a lot of mornings where they have, 3 to 4 hours of downtime as well.
I think my gripes been crafting at least was when I got a couple characters up there, and mining has been reasonable. Like there's tons of nodes you can hit them. There's the
Mhm.
specialized ones that have like dynamite and random crap that pop off of them.
Those things
Uh,
suck.
I
Cloth-
love that though.
No, it makes it more active.
I
and
do.
Interesting.
Yes.
In fact, I like the fact that there's like specializations you can do that lets you actually stay mounted and you're able to mine and do that stuff,
Yes.
which is cool too. The gripe I think I have so far is I'm doing leather working, and I found it very difficult to get the mats. Like everything requires a ton of mats, and I'm not getting very many. My skinning skill is pretty high. I'm in the 90s or 100s already or something with
Bad
some
drop
You
ratio.
got like tools and stuff too?
yeah, I got tools and I got finesse and all that crap. And
The hell?
and there's sections where you're killing guys that don't even give leather at all. They just give you experience for skinning, like spores and stuff, like mushrooms. And you're like, okay. And then you kill guys that definitely give it, but you'll get very, very little product. And it's tough because I don't know if there's just people grinding out certain spots that are better at it, but like I'm making those armor things you can put on like your legs that give you agility or strength. And people are buying them on the auction house for 25 gold, and it takes probably like 300 gold if you were to buy the things on the auction house instead of
good
getting them
lord.
yourself.
Oh,
And I'm
jeez.
like, man, there's no way to just buy your way through it, which is fine. I mean, it requires a little bit of skill and take your time, but I don't know. Leatherworking seems a little tougher. I don't know about cloth either. I don't know if anybody's doing tailoring, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of cloth dropping.
I haven't messed around with that at all. I've been doing mining and jewel crafting mainly.
You look like a leather guy.
Yeah.
Leather daddy.
Got that ball.
That'd be great. Somebody orders something from you, and it's like, this was crafted by Leather Daddy. That'd be great.
That'd be nice.
Heck yeah. Alrighty, guys. Let's get into roll call. So, Bean, I know you had some dialogue with some of the viewers from our videos. So, if you want to go ahead and get into that.
Yeah, this will be a good one. Kez
Yeah.
had said, "Good show. I still haven't decided on a main yet, but leaning towards Prez Evoker. The ability to run AUG as someone who dislikes running DPS, if needed, isn't half bad either. Yes, AUG should be deleted. Send hate, I get it. Also, I was hoping that hero talents would be a little more engaging, but sadly to me, it's looking like Covenants from Shadowlands all over again. Each hero talent grants one main ability and minor passives that feel nice but don't impact gameplay much at all. Also seems most talents are decided on already, meaning pick this if you want to raid, pick this if you want to M+. At that point, I said, I think AUG and support specs are a great idea, but they really need to have more than just one spec. And his follow-up comment, and then we'll discuss. I know you're itching to say something.
I need to say something. I got something to say.
I completely agree. AUG being the only support spec is a major problem. I feel like they can fix that easily by introducing a third hero talent tree to existing classes that modify their abilities to become support abilities. These could really be added to any class, not just healer-focused classes. Looking forward to hearing the conversation. Thanks for the comments, Kez.
Absolutely.
Let's hear what's everybody think about
Evokers
this.
aren't real heroes.
Dive in,
Changed
VindowViper.
my mind.
I don't have any comment. No,
Lion.
I think that it'd be cooler if we had hero like how your hero talents, you get to choose two things, and I feel like they would be drastically different. Like, I feel like if they were able to incorporate, because this actually works well with the two things that he mentioned in the comment, if you could make every class choose like a heavier DPS one, because right now everybody's like net decking or grabbing the whatever that is recommended to them on icy veins or whatever. At least the majority of people that are just like, how do I play my class? And so they'll choose that tier that seems to be doing the right thing for them. Sometimes it's more single target versus AoE if you're a DPS. Sometimes as a tank, it's more survivability versus damage. But it would be cool if they had a lot more support. Like as a healer, it's a more support class healer versus a more direct heals class versus like heals and DPS-y kind of feel. But the big problem with augmentation, and everybody shits on it, and I hope this guy sticks to it, because augmentation is better and better the more the rest of your team, if you run with the same people, gear up. If you're running with a bunch of shitty people that have crappy gear, your augmentation feels terrible, and you're going to feel like crap, and you're going to feel useless, and it's going to be irritating and frustrating, and it's going to make you hate your class. But if you run with the same people and they get good and they get better, your augmentation brings them up drastically, especially when you learn playstyles, and it is a massively amazing class.
Yeah, to the point where I feel like in the like really higher up gameplay, it's basically mandatory to have one, which is why I think there needs to be like a good little handful of support classes, right? To really offer some variance to these compositions for the people that are pushing really hard, and just for everybody else that wants to do that type of role in the party, where like maybe they don't want to just heal, they want to do more support where they're still doing this, still doing that, but not one specific thing, you know?
Yeah. I think execution was weak, is what it is. Like you're saying, like I think it's great having AUG, but they definitely should have done something more, right? So when they released augmentation, they should have had, like you were saying, being like other classes having support capability or roles. I think to really flesh it out versus just saying, boom, here's something we've never had before. One class, enjoy.
Or
like it was, you know what I mean?
Or let augmentation choose how it wants to be a support class. Can it be a damage that supports, or can it be a healer that supports? And it's obviously not going to be the best damager or the best healer uniquely, but the supporting class could be built into both so that it can be able to assist the party better. It would be cool to see. I'd love to see like a healer hybrid, like a healer support. Whereas right now, augmentation is damage support. And the problem is you go look at DPS meters and you look like crap. Even when it tries to counter in your buffs you're giving, it still doesn't feel good. And that's merely that extra buff you're giving people literally has to do with your teammates. And it sucks because if your teammates aren't massively putting out good stuff, then that extra bonus you're providing is
useless. Yeah, and it does kind of suck feeling like you're streamlined into just one of the hero talents based off what you want to do. I have kind of been going a little bit against the grain because for tanking with Prot Paladin, it has been recommended go Lightsmith, go Lightsmith, go Lightsmith. And I think it's Yoda TV. He had recently put out a video where you can still have good survivability and tanking with Templar now. And it really does drastically change how you're playing. Not just the gameplay and the rotation, but also the aesthetic of it is like Lightsmith is so boring. But the Templar is like when you use that like Hammer's Light. What's it called? I think you know it, Vindo. It's like Hammer of Light. That's what it's called. Oh, you're muted there, buddy.
Sorry, I did that on purpose. The one that like bashes down and just starts
Yeah,
creating,
where
like,
it's
this
like
massive
fucking
light blow
massive
up. Yeah.
hammer. It's a huge sound effect. It's super impactful. And then after you place that, you have this like
Mini
buff that you want to
concentrate, yeah.
maintain, where you're like, I'm wanting to use my builders basically, and I'm wanting to limit the amount that I'm using my defensive stuff.
And you have like a second version of it that closes it out. Although I will say, as much as fun as that it was, the Warrior one that has like Colossal Smash or something like that, they changed. It's not the original Colossal Smash, but it's you literally like Super Smash Brothers start hammering like 3 times in a row with this massive hammer above your head. And the final blow is an AoE and it hits like a truck. You're seeing I'm seeing like 2.5, 3 million damage in one hit. And I'm not even that geared. And it is so much fun to see, especially like a tiny gnome just hacking shit away. It's satisfying.
But
So.
yeah, that's kind of what sucks about. They said the hero talents are gonna be like, oh, it's flavor, guys, it's flavor. But there's very clearly like meta stuff, which it's almost impossible to avoid
100%.
that. But
There will always
not-
be a meta.
at
It's
least
just-
make
it's just-
all of the hero talents look cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me Lucky Charms 321 on the Start Strong and WoW essential tips for new and returning players. I had said MMO mouses, and he commented mouses. I don't know if he's telling me I'm wrong or telling me I'm right.
It's mice.
I know in the description I'm like,
Mice, I
I don't
believe.
know if it's mice or mouses.
I don't
Mice.
know. Is there like, do we know what the true answer is when you're talking about computer mice?
I
Yeah,
think
hold on, how
everyone
many
who
times-
watched the video understood. I don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't think that derailed
also-
anybody
How
from,
How many
from
times
the
are you
takeaway.
using more than one
Except for him.
mice? Like
It's
if you have-
not
are
about
you,
whether
like,
people are
double
derailed.
mousing?
It's like, I just
Yeah.
want to know what is exactly
Oh, okay.
right. Is it right to say
Mice.
mice or mouses?
No, you know
Mice.
what?
I would
we
say
reserve
mice.
the right to be wrong. It's okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thanks for the
What-
comment. Mouses.
what
It
content
just
are we
says
providing?
mouses. Only
Mouses.
mouses. There's no like. So I don't
No
know.
time stamp. No nothing.
No, but
Meese.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Let's
Nieces.
just go with Meese.
Just change it every time you do a video when you talk
Yeah.
about gaming mice.
Mouses, meese, mice. It's all good.
right.
I think that's all the comments though. We haven't been putting out a ton of stuff this last week because we've just been
Yep.
fucking gamers,
Absolutely.
dude. Been gaming
That's
it up.
right. So we need to let the community know as well, since the raid's going to be opening up. We will be doing raiding on Fridays. We don't have a time set yet. Do we want to put anything out there, Bean, or
I do have our next stream scheduled for which day? Friday the 13th. So might be a little
Gotcha.
bit spooky. That's going to be our first raid stream. Anybody that wants to join us, you are more than welcome. Can't promise it will be a pleasant or smooth experience, but hopefully it will be a fun experience.
It's gonna
And
be a
I
lot of
think
size.
10 Eastern, maybe
yeah,
is when
shoot
I'll
for
start
10
the
Eastern.
stream. I don't know if we'll start then because it's always a clusterfuck trying to get everybody online at the same time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll start around then, and we'll see how long we go and how far we can get.
Alrighty. Well, that's the podcast, everybody. Obviously, this isn't set in stone. I think all of us are really highly optimistic so far with the war within. But this is just early impressions, and things can change. We're just hoping for the best. But ultimately, we want to hear what you think. What are your thoughts on the new expansion? Are you absolutely loving it? Do you dislike it? I mean, that's valid too. So whatever you're feeling, however you're enjoying or not enjoying it, please put it in the comments below. We can discuss them next podcast. But until next time, we'll see you.
Let's go.